Welcome to Optimistic Insight. This world we create is not always the reality that we deserve. Do you feel like sometimes you suffer from anxiety, physical pain, ailments, and even emotional imbalance? Maybe it's just the reality that you've created from your internal dialogue. Every day we write the story to our life, but we never ask ourselves, what is the context of the words we are using? What do these words even mean internally to us, and how are they settled into the tone for my story? Well, it could just take a different point of perspective to gain another insight into what these words actually create for us. Welcome to Optimistic Insight. So, today we're going to talk about the word achievement. And let's break this down. So, with Optimistic Insight, if you are just tuning in, what we do is we take words that we normally know and we tell ourselves that this is essentially what it means. And we take a little closer look at what the actual feeling and tone is behind that. Now, when looking at the word achievement, when you seek to achieve a particular goal, task, or even habit, do we question if it is meant for us from the position of who we are in that moment, or from the mindset of who we will be when we achieve that particular thing? Achievement is meant to provide us with the completion of something that we do not already attain. So when we look to our future achievements, it is just as important to find our initial footing in our perspective to be sure it's one of the ones of the future. Also, when we are reflecting on the past achievements, we can view them from that exact moment when we attained it to fully take in the fact that we have achieved it based on its meaning to us and not to the act of just achieving it. So we start to look at this concept of what when we achieve something that is meant for us. If it is meant for me and I am looking to go forward in the future to achieve it, or if I'm reflecting on the past, this is something that I either attained or will attain. Now, when I'm looking at that, where do I question it from and where do I view it from in that moment in time as if it was meant for me? In what way? Let's take a listen to this story. This is the want to need inspiratio. Have you ever thought if it is satisfying enough to know that you need something rather than the power that comes from wanting it? Most of us don't want a thing because we have had a reason for it. We find a reason for it because we want it. Herein lies the cognitive dissonance that is created, which hinders our self-derived inspiration towards the things that we need for our well-being. Identifying these two aspects is the first step in balancing out the ratio and cultivating a conscious homeostasis within the self to unlearn preconceived conditioning that has led to an imbalance of our wants to needs. So the question I ask you is, what inspires you? When we ask these questions of who we are, we can find an answer pretty fast, hopefully. Such as your favorite playlist, our children, our loved ones, success, a look towards a promotion. When we ask this question into the internal vastness of self, it becomes a bit more complex in that we have an imminent feeling of how deep does this resonate? A doctor can tell you that you're borderline diabetic and that you need to eat healthier, exercise more, and take precautions to sustain your life. Your internal doctor reminds you daily of how you want to make better choices through the day for a healthier lifestyle, that you need to pay attention to your body so you can do the activities that you enjoy during the day. Yet that doesn't prompt us to change our eating habits until we find a viable path that we want. And more times than not, it's the path of least effort. But inspiration isn't about the path of least resistance. It's about the courage to make the decision to take that path that most don't, to face the obstacles outside your comfort zone and achieve the seemingly impossible. That's what gives birth to inspiration. It's when people glance over and see that person not on the same path they're on, but challenging themselves by putting in the work towards those hard questions and tackling them. Inspiration comes from the wanting to fulfill a need for your betterment, and it comes not only in the choice of wanting or needing, but the courage of what you decide to choose. Your why is an aspect of it, but what you ultimately make the choice for is what shifts the internal dialogue from "I need this" to "I need to want this." And this gives birth to the inspiration that you're deserving of this need because you've decided to want it for yourself. As we balance the scale of this self dialogue, we start to gain a better understanding of self and how deeply our values resonate within. In doing so, we locate an internal fire that fuels true inspiration and are able to utilize that fuel each time we are faced with something we need to make a decision on, whether we want it and why we want it. A desire to feel good leads you to thoughts that feel good. A desire to feel good leads you to thoughts that feel good. That is when the perfect action will be inspired to feel good as you align with what's needed. So, in this optimistic insight of achievement, we can look at our achieves from what we want and what we need and see how we can balance out that ratio. Now, my question to you to ponder on is, are the things you have deemed a necessity in life and the inspired wants of your daily life echoed back to you from self with a fulfilling sensation throughout your body? Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Optimistic Insight. I trust that these words have created new ways for you to utilize them and the emotions attached to them, opening up our perception on the way these words are viewed and processed daily can be the optimistic insight we need to create more fluid state of being.